The chronological Bible reading for January 22nd is Genesis chapters 30 and 31. Sometimes in life we are put in relationship with people who don't love God and who are just unkind. They're unfair. They take advantage of us time after time after time. Maybe you're working for somebody and you know that's where you're supposed to be, but it's got to be so frustrating because they take advantage of you. And it's because of your giving of your time, your energy, your resources that their business succeeds, but you're doing all of the work and you're not being fairly compensated. They keep changing your pay to ensure that you can't get ahead. And maybe they even recognize that the reason they're successful is because of your contributions. This was the case with Jacob and his father-in-law Laban. Laban was just dishonest. They would come to an agreement. Jacob, you'll get this. But then when Laban sees that Jacob is getting too much, he has to change the pay scale to keep Jacob from becoming successful. Laban wanted to keep Jacob dependent upon him, and it was just wrong. Finally, Jacob says, "No more, give me my wives. This season has come to an end. It's time to move on." And Laban, of course, doesn't want him to go. He recognizes through divination that he's being blessed because of Jacob. Jacob points out to Laban that it's because of Yahweh that he's been blessed, because Jacob is with him. And they work out another pay scale. "I will take," Jacob says, "the sheep that are speckled and spotted. The unblemished white sheep you keep for yourself. I'll just take the offspring that are born with marks and with patches." What does Laban do? He rounds up all of the spotted and speckled sheep and sends them 3 days' journey away with his own sons, stacking the deck against Jacob once more. And I would love your input on what you think this means. What's the significance of Jacob putting these sticks of these different kinds of trees in front of the sheep in their water troughs? Why is it that when they mate, if they're looking at these sticks, their lambs are spotted and speckled? Ultimately, it's because of God's sovereignty and his desire to bless Jacob. Certainly, if Jacob were to focus on the way he's been mistreated, his life would be miserable and everybody around him would be miserable. Isn't it interesting how different people in the same or relatively the same circumstance can have completely different reactions? And what we choose to focus on in the midst of whatever season we're in is going to determine how happy we are and how we influence those who are around us. Jacob could have focused on the negativity, and it surely would have led to a negative spiral where people become worse and worse and further away from God. And I think perhaps the lesson that God has hidden in this story about these branches and the speckled and spotted sheep is that the sheep were looking at these different colors of branches, and because that's what they were looking at, and that's what was in the water that they were drinking, that's what their children turned out to be. I have to be careful what it is that I'm allowing to enter through my eye gates. I have to be careful about what I'm ingesting into my body and into my soul, because we get what we focus on. Just like Laban was continually focused on deceiving Jacob, taking what wasn't his, taking advantage, and at the end of the day, it cost him more than it would have had he been generous. Laban was incredibly selfish, and it resulted in his daughters moving away, Rachel stealing his household gods. It resulted in Jacob being incredibly blessed because God had favor on him, and then all of that wealth and procession leaving with Jacob eventually. Yes, we definitely become what we focus on. Epigenetics in the modern day has shown how the things that we focus on and the way that we think can affect how our DNA expresses the code that's been written into it. Once again, we see that God, thousands of years ago, was detailing for us how important it is what we look at, what we focus on, and what we put into our body, because those things affect the way our children look. The DNA itself isn't changed, but the expression of it most definitely is by the way we think. And the things that we look at affect the way we think. Maybe the most important lesson that we take away from this is that we must even more focus on the Word of God. We should be devoted to it. We should spend hours a day, every day in the Word, meditating on it. While we're driving, have it playing in the car. Have conversations with other people daily about what the Word of God is saying, what God is revealing to us in it. So many of us have children, and many of us want nothing more than for our children to know God, to walk with Him, to have a relationship with Him. And the way we will accomplish that, friends, is by modeling for them a devotion to the Word of God. Because the thing we focus on is the thing we will get. What is the way that we could test ourselves to say, what is it that we actually focus on? Because we can so easily fool ourselves. Here's a great test. Jesus said the mouth speaks from the overflow of the heart. The thing that you speak about is the thing that's most present to you, and it's the thing that's occupying the most space in your heart. Think back to the conversations you've had over the last day or week. What do you find yourself talking about? Are we talking about God? Are we talking about His Word? Are we talking about what He's doing in our lives? Are we talking about His plans and how we are being conformed to His image? Or are we talking about anything else that's of far less importance? I don't know about you, but I know for me, I've got work to do. And I'm grateful that we're on this journey together, that we are being conformed to the image of Christ for His glory, so that He can partner with us to accomplish His will on this earth. We are His ambassadors, after all. Let us become like Him. May God bless you as you continue to seek Him. May He increase your faith. May He supernaturally multiply your time so that you give yourself permission to spend more time studying this. God bless you, my friends. Thanks for being on this journey with me through the Word of God in 2025. We'll see you tomorrow.